Welcome everybody, my name is Jessica Green. I'm the director of the Maisel Cinema. It's wonderful to have you here tonight. This is like an incredible event, an incredible film. We're going to have an amazing discussion. It's such a rare occasion and it looks like we're going to have to do this again, huh? We're sold out, we have to turn people away, so it's quite popular. So I just wanted to really quickly, just because it looks like there's a lot of new people here, people that haven't been here before. This is the Maisel Cinema. It was founded by documentary filmmaker Albert Maisels. We show pretty much all documentaries. And we have a mailing list out front. We have membership forms, we have calendars. One thing that I would just mention that we're really excited about, we are going to be doing, along with some other theaters, a week-long theatrical premiere of The Central Park 5, Ken Burns' first theatrically released documentary in 27 years. And we're going to have 4 of the 5 Central Park 5 for one of our screenings at 4 p.m. on November 25th. We're really excited about that. They have a historic lawsuit pending with the city, it's a $300 million lawsuit. So it's really quite a phenomenal story that's very much alive and very much ongoing. And I encourage you to check out our website, maiselinstitute.org, and find out more about that run and everything else we're doing. And thank you so much for coming. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Joe Jeffries, who is incredible and has been an incredible steward of this evening and just a ferocious advocate and thinker and intellectual and wonderful person. And we're so honored to have him here. So he's going to tell you a little bit about what you are in store for. Joe.
Thank you very much all for coming. Thank you for bearing with us as we were trying to figure out what was up with the audience and the seating. Thank the Maisels staff. This is a historic thing that you are about to see. We are about to go back into the past and into the future with this. Seriously, this is a time capsule, and it's very nice to be presenting it on its 30th anniversary. This film was made in 1982, so it is 30 years old. This film, I just want us to think a little bit about 1982 for a moment. There's another film here at the Maisels that is very popular called Style Wars. It was made in 1981 and deals with the graffiti culture in New York City at that point in time, right? This is 1982, dealing with the house ball culture in New York City. And also in 1982, you might want to think about the fact that the East Village scene is exploding in New York City, right? So this is all kind of part and parcel of the life of New York City when this film is shot and made. You should also think about the fact that this film was shot in 82. It then premiered in 1985 at the Paradise Garage here in New York City. It was also shown in Rome in 85. Both screenings very much like this, just kind of out of control crowds and situations, getting the ball rolling, but that shows you the power and the beauty of this film, right? But that's a little bit of the history of this film. The film is kind of dual-fold in structure. The film is the story of Sugar. Sugar is one of the transvestite performers in the film. It's a little bit of Sugar's story, narration, and some performances by Sugar intercut with the ball, right? The ball is a House of LaBeija ball, a Harlem fantasy ball. It was thrown right here in Harlem, up on 125th Street, or very close to here, up on 125th Street, at 125th Street, at a bingo hall, right? It is amazing for the people that you will see in this film. You will see Pepper LaBeija at her prime, kind of emceeing the ball. Pepper's constant patter over this kickin' soundtrack. The soundtrack of this thing is also just amazing, right? And then Pepper's banter over it makes it even more unbelievable to as an auditory experience alone. Dorian Corey is also in this film. We're very honored to also have tonight here Kevin Ami. Kevin will be on the panel with us. Also in this film, first time in drag. Right? That's your category. We're in the blue number, I believe. So the blue number. So when you hear Pepper rattling on about first time in drag, look for the blue LeMay number and you'll see Kevin there. I also believe that if you look really carefully, you'll see McKelly and Simone in parts of this film. It's just visually, there's so much going on in every frame, but you'll see what I'm going to do. The categories in this ball are kind of great and typical. One of my favorite categories in this ball, however, is it's very indicative of the 80s kind of, there's a punk wave versus new rock category, as well as your more traditional face and body categories. Just because, well, you need to know, Paris is Burning was released in 1991. Paris is Burning, I'm no expert on Paris is Burning, but I believe that it was shot over the course of 5 to 7 years, and I believe that the shooting begins in 1985. So like I said, you're looking at 1982. You're also looking at a different ball circuit, right, or a different ball organization. Paris is Burning was the Paris is Burning balls. This is the Harlem Fantasy Ball. This is a much more raucous affair. We'll talk about that after the screening. This is One Ball, One Night, which Paris is Burning was many balls over many nights. This is One Ball, One Night. Another interesting thing to know about this film, and you will notice this, is that there's a time code that is in the middle of the screen at all points in time. Right? This is the only extant print of this material that you are about to see. I am an archivist. I've come across people who tell me, oh, we lost that, we threw it out, parents threw it out, it was in a house fire, it was even in a flood, like recently here in New York City, and that's why we don't have it. But this film, ladies and gentlemen, sank to the bottom of the Hudson. Michele and Simone were living in a houseboat at the time at the boat's basement, and this film was in the boat, and, well, it went down the hold, right? So what you are looking at with the time code is the print of this film that exists at this point in time. I think it speaks to the archaeological patina of this film. Again, it gives it this little extra thing. It also kind of is a constant reminder of how at risk this film was. The time is running out on this film. It's right there in front of you at all points in time, how at risk this thing was of being lost. This film runs 60 minutes, so not terribly long. And just to, I guess, paraphrase RuPaul, let the fierceness play and enjoy TV Transvestite. Afterwards, we will have a Q&A with Kevin, with Michele and Simone, so hang around for that. Oh yeah, and one last thing. Out in the lobby, we do have TV Transvestite t-shirts for sale. $10 a piece for the TV Transvestite t-shirts, and you also get a free poster with that while they last. While they last. We ran out of programs, but we got some t-shirts for $10 and posters also. I should also let you know that tonight's screening is benefiting Art from the Heart, who will in turn give the money to, they will set up a memorial fund for the ball community, for people who pass away in the ball community to help with funeral expenses. So tonight's benefit is all going towards Art from the Heart to help establish that funeral memorial fund. So sit back, let the fierceness play, and enjoy TV Transvestite from 1982. For coming this evening once again. Like I said, that is a truly remarkable time capsule of material. I think that we just witnessed. Simone, where'd Simone go? She went downstairs. Simone, come on up. Simone, come on up here. Come on, have a seat. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Joe Jeffries. I'm going to run you down the line of people here. This is Michele Capozzi. He is one of the directors of the film. This is Kevin Omni, who you saw featured in the film. And this is Simone Di Bagno, who is also one of the directors of this film. This is our lineup of people here, our speakers tonight. First, I just want to start with Simone here. Simone, you were, well, both you and Michele come over from Italy. These guys are very Italian. Yeah, you can definitely tell by the accent. And you were making films for the UN. Yes, tell us a little bit about your UN filmmaking and then how this project kind of evolved and began.
Yeah. Well, it was basically all about human rights. That's what the whole UN thing was about. And when we came across these groups, we felt that this was really something that had to be cherished and somehow recorded and somehow kept as an archive. That was then, like 30 years ago. We really fell in love with this crowd because somehow it embodied freedom, courage, a sense of self that was really beyond what we. So that's how we got enamored in this thing. We actually used maybe 2 or 3 years to research and to get into this. And you know, some of you can understand when we were going through this thing of a man and a woman, a love story between a man and a woman in the same body. And we were kind of, you know, really interested. After 3 years of research, we shot it in 24 hours, which all you could do at the time. More than that, we would have been in trouble. So Sugar, of course, you know, succeeded, managed to see the film made just before she passed. It was, you know, a great thing. But herself was embodiment of this kind of crazy trip that these people take. On one hand, she was really excited about being the star. Of course, that's the whole point of the show. On the other hand, she knew that if everybody knew that she was what she was, then the magic would be gone. So she was so ambivalent, and I think you can feel it in her talking. You know, she's not really, you know, she's very tentative. While we were doing the movie, actually, while we were at the ball, she was making up in that little room. We were going around, we had 4 cameras, it was the first time this thing was filmed, we were kids, we didn't know what we were doing. And every once in a while I turned around and Sugar had the suitcase and she was walking out. So I had to go after her and say, no, come back. Because that was her, Pepe La Beja, Dorian, I mean, these were people that for us, I think, meant something that we never actually experienced before. People who were really the best of the best of the best. They were living against the grain, they were living a dream. And they were living a dream, as I said, with courage, because they were against everything that everybody thought. So that's why we did this thing. Now that was in 82, as Joe was telling you, we did 84 in Rome, Antonioni, Fellini, Padula, yada yada, everybody got very excited. We did in 85 in Paris Garage, Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, I mean, you know, there was a lot of things. And then what happened was that the musicians who were the editors of the music decided not to give us the rights of the music. And the reason was more. They were groups in Philadelphia who were doing the music, and they claimed that they were doing it for family. So the idea of being connected with transvestites, sort of perverted type of thing was so they didn't give us the rights. In the meantime, a young woman got to see our cut and decided to make a film and and the rest is history. It's called Paris is Burning. By the time we really wanted, we had in a way a promise to these people. We were going to show their magic to the straight world, to the world that didn't know them. Not their reality, but their magic through their eyes. So this is what we did. And 30 years later, the magic, I think, still lives on.
Yes, it does.
How many times did you see the movie?
Twice.
No,
First time,
come
second
on.
time.
No, come on.
The magical is always there.
So when we actually we had to change all the music. Now, if some of you are aware of filmmaking, you know, when you change the music, you have to change the whole background, you have to change the crowd, you have to change everything. We actually had Pepper, the Beja, dubbing herself, so that we could have a product that would be, you know, sort of commercial. Of course, we never did it for commercial reasons. Once we finished it, we showed it at Sally's 2. Sally's Hideaway, it's a famous old... there are some people
you know
here, I
Sally's?
can
No,
see
I'm kidding.
that they know what it's all about. And funny thing for everybody else is that it was one of the last, great blood of the thing. And this location was in front of the New York Times
23rd Street.
printing conference.
23rd Street.
When we showed it, finally, this thing, Paris is Burning had already come out. The whole transvestite thing was already off the closet. But the transvestite community was really pissed off. I won't go into it somehow, exploitation thing, whatever it was. When we did it in 90-something, 93 maybe, Paris Burning came out in 91, and we did it, the show there, the survivors of that era really shed tears, I have to admit. And as I was saying, was sheer of loss, sheer of nostalgia, but mostly was tears of pride. And that's what we wanted to do. We were there. And the nice thing is that 30 years later, we're still alive. They're still alive, and actually, they're more alive today than maybe they were.
Yeah, because we have to remember to the crowd that I think Kevin can tell you us more, but most of these people are not more with us. And Kevin and other 3 people, I think, are surviving, right? All the others are...
Let me
Yeah.
just
Can you just say something about this? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, don't want to get you snared. I was 23 years old in that blue gown. And I remember the night that the category was Butch Queen first time in drag. I had never played in my mother's dust rug or anything, I came to the ballroom and I put on this gown. It took 2 hours for my friend David Ultima to put on the makeup. And I'm like, I've never walked in heels before either, so I was practicing in the dressing room. And the exciting part was the House of Ebony, which was my good friends, came in with this Norma Kamali gown. And it was fabulous, and they wanted me to put that on. And I'm like, I just put this gown on with this, whatever those pantyhose things, and and then I had the bra stuffed with socks, and but when I look back at that night, it was so thrilling. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I did it 2 more times that same year. I'm looking at myself now at the age of 54, and 30 years, and I look at that film, and as I look in the whole audience from the film, I would say, roughly, there may be out of, say, those 250 to 300 people, there's only about maybe 15 of us alive.
Wow.
And so it's a little emotional for me.
No shit.
I mean, me and Pepper, me and Dorian, me and Avis, I've had relationships with each of them outside of the ballroom. We, visited each other's homes. We shared each other's problems. Right now, me being the age that I am, I definitely give thanks to our Heavenly Father, because I've lost, and I used to count because I did a few fundraisers throughout the years where I had to do memorials and I had to keep adding names, and the last count I had was 548 of my friends are dead. That I actually, not only am I in the ball community, but I also am one of New York City's premier black gay hosts of the club world. So I've seen a lot of people come and I've seen a lot of people go. Promoters, hosts, DJs, you name it. And so when I watched the film, and I promised myself I would not get emotional and start the tears, because once in a while I let it go, because if it's there, I feel it. You know, I feel it now. But I want to represent all of them that was on that film, because the ball community is still existing today. And the sad part about today versus then, when I look at this film, let me tell you how special you guys are. This film represents the fun of the balls. The balls have become so political now, extremely, to the point where some of the kids, there's more insanity involved than they forgot to have fun. See, back then, like when you had DeRay wearing the silver and the white, and then Tiny was wearing the outfit, they started doing their little thing next to each other, but then they held hands. They weren't even in the same house. So the camaraderie was there. It didn't matter. If you're in a category now and you're with someone from a different house, it's like, you better move out the way because you may get burned or the daggers may be too strong. They take it serious. They forgot the fun. And seeing this film reminded me of all the fun. That's the reason I got into the balls. That's the reason I stayed. I don't go to as many, maybe once a year to get my awards, you know. They have to find a way to get me to come out, but it's not because I haven't written stories, educated, and I'm always teaching the new kids about who paved the way, how those categories got started. I'm what they consider the pioneer icon. That's my status. And so it's my duty to have to tell them, well, you know, you look at this ball, this is fun, this is pre-HIV/AIDS. We didn't start really losing people until 1983. So even in 82, there was one or two I remember, but it wasn't really that detrimental at that point. And who knew that everybody that was coming out that door, including my best friends, would all be dead? You know, and year after, it could have been us. It could, you know, so I always give praise to God, and I'm always telling this community, you know, you have so many kids that are so mixed up that they use their own, they destroy themselves. It's like they use the HIV, they use the AIDS as a weapon to hurt one another, to attack one another. You know, rather than embracing, I don't understand, there's a lot of problems and issues where the kids will not embrace one another. You know, it's like, ooh, you got a plague, and you know, and you don't want to be bothered. And, or better yet, when they come to your funeral, which is one of the reasons why me and Wolfgang decided to get involved, Arts from the Heart, was because, you know, so many of the kids don't think about the important things in life. Like, I used to get on the microphone and my mouth was very profound. You know, I didn't hold back anything. I would let them know that when, you know, I died, thank God my family would not have to ask you, excuse me, faggots, for $1. Because it's all about having health insurance and life insurance. It's about taking care of responsibilities. And these are the things that I have to teach the younger kids, because they live for today and they don't think about tomorrow. So in that same instance, I've had to bury some of the house members that I've had in my house where they didn't have any families, no mother, no, you know, parents, no brothers, siblings or anything, and they didn't have any kind of insurance. And let me tell you something, when death comes, it's like, you know, you have to be prepared, you know, and, you know, going to clubs and doing fundraisers to hope that you're going to be able to pay for them to be buried is very stressful. So me and Wolfgang decided that we wanted to do something and start some kind of fund for the children within the ball community that need help, especially in their time of need. I mean, I've been with parents that were they just were, you know, they didn't even know where the kids were, you know. It's so much going on and there's so much in my head, but I think looking at this film made me realize how proud I am to be a ball pioneer icon. How proud I am, and mind you, I'm the only one alive or dead that has ever won face trophies in his 50s. And it's good when you win when you're 23, but then when you win 30 years later, you know you still got it and you can keep it going. It's a blessing from God. But the bottom line is this film was fun. It brought back all the good times. It was pre-HIV, AIDS. It was pre-crack, cocaine. This was a time, this film, where everybody was out to have fun. You're talking about courage. There were no implants. So if your hormones didn't work, and those little bit of titties that you received was not enough, you had the courage to come out there and the nerve, like Miss Pepper said. Some of you wouldn't have the nerve.
Right.
But you know, when you look at their bodies, when you look at the chest, when you look at the faces, all of that was creativity. Because the implants didn't start till later. That was more of a 90s thing. And back then in the 70s, the hormones were illegal.
Yeah.
They had to go through going to doctors and telling stories, going to psychiatrists to get them the right notes so that Medicaid or whoever will pay for it. And you know, so it was a trial and error period. That ball was the beginning, that film was the beginning of the foundation of what we started, you know. And I say we because I went to my first ball in 1975, and it was all drag queens. There were no guy categories. And then when the guy category started, I was right there. So, you know, I was there when they got face for the guys and high fashion executive for the guys. They gave us something to do. And, you know, and we took it serious. I mean, when I came for high fashion executive, I worked in Wall Street for 15 years. And I'm like, look, here's I would bring the judges my phone book from the job, the directory with my name highlighted that showed my title, because that was realness. Realness went beyond just the face, the body, the performance, or the fantasy. Realness took it to every stage of a category. If you were shopping on Fifth Avenue, we wanted to see how you shopped on Fifth Avenue. We wanted to see whether your credit card was yours. We wanted to see whether or not it was expired. Judges that were smart like myself, we look for those things. You know, and then I have a story to tell. The young lady, did you see how the females carried on, the straight females? Well, Shemeka she had the gold.
Yeah,
Right.
yellow, yeah.
Yeah. Nobody knew that gown that that dress, that piece that she pulled off was in Saks Fifth Avenue window that day. And she had it on that night, and it was $3,500 back in 1982. You know how much that was? Nicky Barnes, he was famous for, he was a big time drug dealer, life after life after life. It was unfortunate that was his wife. And unfortunately, she was killed because of turning state's evidence or whatever. So, like when I say, and I went to her funeral, it was up on Sugar Hill in Harlem. When I look at her, when I think about the changes, when I think about the sacrifices, when I think about the courage of how we did things, when I think about the fact that I got in that blue gown and, if my brother would have caught me,
Dead meat.
Dead meat. And, you know, I came out of that gown before I came out that door. And makeup was off the face, too. Made sure I put a big old jar of Noxzema. But when I think about just life, you know, and the ball community has developed to a degree now where it's 30 years later, and now we have all these houses. We have houses that create scholarships for individuals within the community. We have some houses are more closer to one another than others. What I would like to see, for them to see, for every one of them to see this film and see how we did it, how we started it, the fun, the enjoyment, rather than today's political cutthroat and I'm more important than you, and you know, and I don't see you, you know, all of that animosity. And you know, we have the world out here against us. We have to stay, you know, stick to each other, whatever community that you're in. And I just want to say thank you to you guys, because you know, you've made me feel like, wow, you know, that was a dream come true for me. And when I took the photo, which I sent you, my mother showed it to her girlfriends, okay? And they were saying, oh, who's that? That's your sister? And she said, yeah. She never told them. And I just laughed because, you know, I was 23. I didn't have any facial hair. And like I said, my chests were socks. The pantyhose were killing me. They were pulling my little bit of hair that was growing on my thighs. And walking up in those heels trying to get balance. And then mind you, with 14 competitors for that category.
Yeah, there was a lot, yes.
And I was the winner. Oh, but no, here's the most important part of the story. The most important part. That was my very first trophy. Butch Queen First Time in Drags. I went and told everybody that I was a woman. Okay, never did it before, right? My second trophy was Butch Queen Realness, meaning you had to be a homeboy that nobody could tell that you was gay. You know what I mean? Know what I'm saying? So, realness. So I went from a dress to telling you I was real, and then I went and won Best Dressed Man, a straight category. So instead of me going the opposite way, walking a straight category Best Dressed Man first, then Butch Queen Realness, then Butch Queen Up in Drags, I did it the opposite way, and nobody has never done it ever again.
Tell us about some of your work, your pornologist work, and the film, the documentary that you're making right now. Tell us about the documentary you just came from Italy working on.
Well, yes, very briefly. At the moment, I'm doing a documentary by my hometown. The title is Bollesume. That means when the water of the sea bubbles like this, so Bollesume. And this section of the city is very interesting because it's full of ethnic. Different ethnicity, white, blue, red. So it seems like a little neighborhood of New York. But I prefer to stay on the subject. Thank you for the message. That's what I'm doing in Italy now. But what I want to say is that we really like that we did this, and this film is still alive. I'm really flabbergasted that this 30 years has went by. And I wrote him an email. I said, I can't even believe that we are here, but we look very well, I guess.
Well, not very
So,
well.
and especially
Look well.
is the memory of the people who are not more with us that has to be kept. And I'm glad that Kevin underlined one very important thing: the fun that period, that's the moment of society had. And unfortunately, I always say that the 83, 84. It's not the end of New York. New York is still alive, but that period ended exactly 1 year and a half after this party.
Yes.
Because things changed, globalization came, whatever it is. We are not doing. We don't want to go out of the subject, but the fun that period of life that New York and this community had, it was fantastic. And I guess this is something that we should try to work together to make this fun to come back.
Yes, and I may want to say one thing. Also, me and Wolfgang, after I already knew about your film because something. I believe Pepper had a copy,
Yeah, sure.
and I have a
of course.
copy. And I thought that we would have hoped that after she was gone, that I was the only one that had a copy.
Absolutely, and you still are.
Yeah. Okay. And so, after Paris was burning, I don't want to really get into too much of that. We're going to go past that and we're going to go to my film, which is How Do I Look? How Do I Look was made, is this on?
It's on.
Hello? Okay. How Do I Look was made because we wanted to show the world that we,
Bravo. Volkan.
Ball community
The
personnel, that's Wolfgang Bush, Stanley Wolfgang, he's the director of How Do I Look? And I'm the assistant director. And it's on Amazon, it's on, howdoilookyc.org. We wanted to show the world that transgender, people that go to balls, we have transgenders that go to college, we have transgenders that graduated from college. I'm proud to say one of my favorites is Miss Ayana from DC, who received her PhD, and she's transgendered. and I'm back in school taking forensic science in my 50s. Okay. I don't know. I just know that there'll always be a job with working.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know,
With
somebody
them
will
people,
always
yeah.
die on it. I figured that maybe that was a sign. But to be honest with you, there's so many people in the ball community now that are going to school and doing things with their lives. You know, we had stars like Willie Ninja, who opened up his own modeling company. It wasn't easy for him, but he kept steadfast with it. We have people like Benny Ninja, who's working with Tyra Banks. You know, there's a lot of us from the ball community out there in the world. And how I look educates people on the fact that we can go to school, we can earn a degree, and we can work from 9 to 5, and we can go to balls. And I just want to say this for the record. That ball was at 5 a.m. in the morning, okay? I am not, when someone asks me, well, why are you a pioneer icon? Pioneer means you were there from a beginning of a certain entity. I was the first one in New York City to change the times because I got tired of going to balls at 5 a.m. 1983, October the 8th, my birthday, I was 25 years old. I changed the time from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. You know, like a club night. You come to the club, you go home. But see, it used to be that they would start the balls after you left the club. And that was a no-no. So, 1983, I started the trend, I pioneered the trend of the ball change. And not only that, I didn't want to go up to Harlem anymore, so I was the first one to give a ball in Midtown. The reason why was because I wanted to bring another audience in to see these artistic and creative people. And you know, I had a lot of people in Wall Street that didn't mind, you know, coming to support me. They didn't have a clue as to what a ball was, but they was coming just because of my personality on the job, but they weren't wearing their fur coats above 125th Street. So, I gave them a ball at East 86th Street. So after I started that trend of the time change and the locale, all the balls from that point on started coming downtown to Midtown. So I'm a trendsetter. So, you know, and then the kids, you know, they say thank you, Kevin, because we'd still be, you know, after hours and this, that, and other. And my mother used to really go off on me, like, it's 4:30 in the morning, where are you going? You know, like, are you out of your mind? And she wasn't having it. So a lot of times I used to hope that she would take a little sleeping sedative and I'd be able to sneak out. Mind you, I'm blessed because my mom's is still with me today at the age of 83, and she's still cursing me out and reading me. And she has been to all of my...
What time you have to go back tonight?
No, she lives by herself, you know. But I remember my first ball, my grandmother was there. My grandmother lived to be 98. My grandmother was there, my mother was there, my sisters and brothers. And you know, there was another thing about the balls back then. When they came downtown, I was able to get more heterosexual people to come to the balls.
Right.
So, you know, with that and the record companies and you know, I had people like Wendy Williams sitting on my panel and Victor Sosa from TV Guide magazine, you know, just different people that I started getting to come to the ball. So I did a lot for the community as far as being proud, wanting them to see what we created. And you know something, a lot of creativity had been lost because it's all about the dance now. It's all about voguing.
Oh yeah.
But when I looked at those people like Freddie, that was Freddie on the bike from New Jersey, and Chipper Corey from New Jersey with the gold ethnic effect, and that was Gene Ebony with the chickens. And Miss Pepper
A
was
chicken in my ball.
and I think she was upset because I thought he wrung the chicken's neck. I don't know if that was caught on film.
No,
But, you know,
I don't remember.
when I look at all of what these people would do, when they said they bought everything but the kitchen sink, no, they bought the kitchen sink and they bought the knobs and everything. And you know something, they made things out of their imagination, and it was nothing impossible. And it was what you call great entertainment. It was like auditioning for the only movie or the only sitcom. You know, that's what the balls were basically. You know, and I'm looking at you guys and I'm really proud of you. Because I never would have thought I would have got the opportunity to meet either one of you. And for you to not know how impressed I am and how proud I am. And it's a keepsake for me. It's my memory. It's me. It's me walking up in those silver hills, you know. And mind you, there's one thing I didn't tell you, and I'm gonna admit it. When I was in the gown with the pantyhose and everything, I didn't have on any panties. I forgot to put on the panties, and when I went back to the dressing room, I remember, oh shoot, I didn't put on any drawers. Okay. No, well, you know, the gown wasn't tight fitting. It wasn't like, you know, it was very. And then me with the feather boa, I was trying to, you know, whatever. Anyway, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for what you said. But would you mind to tell to the crowd here what are the houses? Because I don't think that many of these people know what they are.
Okay, the house system really, like the first house was LaBeija. The houses vary. You have some houses, well, basically it's the same structure. A lot of people, see, this is one of the parts of Paris is Burning that confused the public, because they made people think that people joined the houses because they were outcast by their own families, which in some parts are true. You know, so they went to the houses, have the mothers and the fathers, and it's like a family structure. I personally resented it, and I had a lot of issues with that because, like I said, my mother and my grandmother were at my first balls,
Right.
and you know, I'm just very blessed, you know. But there's many people that have families that are supportive of them. You know, you hear only the bad, but never nobody speaks up about the good. So, you know, a lot of times, and another issue, the biggest issue, is that just like Paris is Burning came out in 1991, there's not one mention in that film about HIV or AIDS. And in How Do I Look, we address HIV and AIDS. We have people like Octavia that talk about it. You know, and I couldn't understand that. How could, at a time when it was the epidemic, that there's no mention of it? So I felt that the story was sort of exploitive. They just wanted what they wanted to see, and you know, and I was like, there was a lot of footage of me taken, but I was one of the few that read the contract.
Yeah.
I didn't sign it. It was supposed to be a thesis for a college paper, and people signed the release, but they signed the rights away. And the next thing you know, the film was released. And unfortunately, my friends, this is another reason why I'm on this Fund for the Funeral thing, because a lot of the people that were in the film Paris is Burning died penniless. You know, people sued unsuccessfully, did not make a dime. Meanwhile, Miramax Films made, well, all I know is Jenny Livingston received $1.5 million from Miramax Films.
Yeah, actually, it was about 6.
6 million?
That's what Joe
I
said.
believe that's what the
Right.
film grosses as a total. As a
As a
total.
total.
Gross.
She might receive 1.5, but I believe it's
Yeah.
6 is about what the film.
Yeah, and so, you know, and then it's sad because the stars in the film, basically, you know, we had to raise money for Avis. We gave her a ball the month before she passed away, so she could have, right before she died, she had a beautiful brand new TV, all her bills were paid and everything, but that's what we did. And she was in the film, you know, and it's a shame she didn't have a, yes, Avis Pendavis. So, you know, I have a lot of, I don't have any animosity, I'm not bitter, I just moved on. So when
Right.
Wolfgang and I decided, well, Wolfgang came to me and told me about doing How Do I Look, I jumped on it because it was an opportunity to say, okay, we don't steal food from Roy Rogers. We don't all do those type of things. We're not running on the beaches saying, look at my breast and drink my milk. You know, some of us were. Some of us graduated. Some of us have Regents diplomas. Some of us are articulate. You know? And, you know, a lot of the things that I don't see them really expressing is how, I remember how long it would take Dorian to do an outfit. I remember how long it would take Avis to do an outfit. I remember Miss Pepper was going to walk against Miss Avis. She would stop by her house just to see what kind of material she had. You know what I mean? And Miss
Absolutely.
Avis would go, "That's Miss Pepper. Put my stuff back here, Kevin." You know. And but you know what? When they bought it, and they were really going to bring it. They were going to bring the house down no matter what it cost. But at the same time, they were always there for each other. And that's what's missing from the kids in 2012. You know, you didn't have to worry about just being on the floor. If you had a little tit or somebody won a trophy over you, now, you know, that person is in need, and it's like, these kids are like, well, I'm not helping them. You know, their attitudes are not like fun or caring.
Right.
So, you know, it's hard sometimes, and I just, you know, I'm at the point where I'm old. I'm tired.
Not that old and not that
Look,
tired.
when you have I have an 83-year-old mother, an 85-year-old aunt, an 89-year-old aunt, and a 92-year-old aunt, and all of them, you know, have kids, but everybody wants their nephew, you know, and I'm being stretched here and there, and running the school, and, you know, helping Wolfgang fight for our rights, and, you know, coming to screenings with you guys, and, you know, it's kind of difficult, and it's like, you know, over and over I write little stories. I had to like remove myself from many of the Facebook groups because I'm looking at these kids and they're arguing with one another, they're talking about personal business, health status, and I'm like, you know, where's all this evil coming from? You know, and if they were to sit here and see this film, they would understand what the walls were really about, because that's